Hi, folks. All right, back again. We're running through 1971 like gangbusters here. So, yeah, we've done the retrospective on 1971 music. We've done rock. We've done folk. We've done blues. I just did some prog rock. And now we're going to jump into something a little groovier. We're going to jump into the R&B and funk field of 1971. Yeah, this is sort of a jumping off point. This is a more expansive 7 parts. Obviously, each of these I could go into much more of the style of music, whether it's prog rock, want to do more of a marathons on each of these sort of genres, and dig a little deeper into some of these albums, into some of these different bands. And it's always going to be a mix of stuff I've heard, stuff I haven't heard. It's all about that, explorations, inspiration. That's what the channel's here to uncover and rediscover, musical insights in that sense. So the channel name's Subterranean Visions. After the book Subterraneans, about going underground in New York to listen to jazz music in the 50s. And the vision side of it is, the musical vision, whether it's performing, creating, listening, the visions it creates, the inspirations. Anyway, I appreciate you being here. Scott, I'm a guitar player for 30 plus years, played, a bunch of different instruments. Don't have a huge collection, although it looks like I do. But most of them are either instruments I made or instruments that kind of passed through the family that I've sort of been collecting. And, I've done some audio engineering for half a decade and just basically just curious and about music, and always have been kept it in my orbit, more or less. So I've always sort of been up and around the world and in the music that's out there. So always open to different music of all different styles. So that's something also in the channel. It's going to be, I know that that people always have their favorites and things like that. But I'm going to always try to be pushing the boundaries a little bit into what I'm listening to and what I'm going to be putting out there. So there's always going to be some new stuff out there. So yeah, this is about digging deeper into the music making experience, music making, creating, the history, and basically trying to maintain the archives of what's out there, what people can access. And we're not I know there's plenty of channels out there that are like more of like a greatest hits jukebox, like experience this. But there's enough out there. I'm here to sort of maintain, and create sort of an archive for music that people can come into and enjoy and learn at the same time. And I do want to start supporting other channels also, because I feel like it's just support channels that are doing a little bit more interesting work, and not just kind of hit it and quit it, to use some of the R&B verbiage that we're going to jump into a little bit. Yeah, it's not to just, go in there and just, get 10K, 100K views and audience and Patreon and make money and do all this shit, It's like, it's about the music. So there's enough for everybody. Anyway, I want to push out some support. I'm starting to do it in the last video, but I want to continue doing it. So, and I want to support some channels and just shout out to Just JP. He's somebody that has really evolved over time and really has a real diverse listening content-wise on this channel. So he's got an audience enough where they really put out a lot of different music, a lot of different styles, a lot of different genres, a lot of different time periods, and he is there for that. And it's a really it's nice to see somebody really just exploring that sense. And so I want to shout him out for that. He's also someone who's, contacted me and helped me sort of just beginning the ideas of, how to put together a video, how to, set up, what do you use for gear, you need a light, you need headphones, you need a recorder, you need an audio interface, what have you. He's someone that sort of, even through video, put out a little, behind the scenes of what he uses just to do the, bare bones that he does. So it was very helpful in the beginning to sort of get over those hurdles, even though I have, some experience, with audio and electronics and stuff like that. It's still, as you age, it starts to get a little harder, more difficult to sort of the tech side of it was always something that I did not look forward to. So I appreciate him for that. So anyway, Just JP, go check him out. Anyway, let's get to it. So this is going to be about R&B and funk, more or less. So we're going to do a little medley of some stuff that came out in 1971 in that field, and we're going to jump it off with everybody knows this band. So on this one, there's going to be some of these I've heard. This one I may have haven't heard that much, but some of these I've kind of heard a little bit sporadically. So these are going to be semi-new listens, more or less. So anyway, we're going to jump into 1971 release of Maggot Brain, released July 12th, with the band Funkadelic. And we have George Clinton on vocals, Eddie Hazel guitar, Lucius Tall Ross on rhythm guitar, Benny Worrell on keyboards, Billy Nelson on bass, Tiki Fullwood drums, and then we have Ray Davis, Clarence Haskins, Gary Scheider, Calvin Simon, Grady Thomas on backing vocals. And I've listened to some of this album. I may have heard the whole album. I'm not sure. But anyway, I've kind of picked through a random set of songs for whatever reason. I'm picking the ones I do. I feel like they're kind of have the right amount of, they just sort of grab me at the time. Something that I'm like, okay. And I may know it a little bit. I may have just listened to a snippet of it and just like, yeah, this is the one we're going to jump into. So that's pretty much my method for doing that. Funkadelic, here we go. Okay, gotta pause it a little bit here. I don't have to pause it. I'll play it all the way through, but I just want to. It's nice just to get some ideas out while they're still fresh in my mind, from some of the pieces before I, talk about it more. But yeah, first off, very surprised that the guitar is all acoustic here. So in the beginning, yeah, I love the beginning where it's just acoustic guitar and drums, bass. I'm not sure what else is there. So yeah, I love the acoustic sound on this one, and it really gives a little bit more. Yeah, it's different. I mean, you're not going to hear acoustic guitar in funk a lot of the time or R&B, but it gives a different feel. It gives a really more natural feel to it. It sounds more down home. It doesn't sound so polished. So yeah, the guitar, obviously the vocals. I'm gonna talk about the lyrics a little bit after. But yeah, so far, super groovy. I mean, the bass, everything's in the right place, and you can tell it's not polished. They're they're putting it in there sort of, everything's kind of changing in the moment. The vocals come in, and the guy comes in with that low one, which is really fun. It's hilarious to hear him. Yeah, so guitar, keyboards. I love the progression. Yeah, there's the song itself. I just love the feel of it. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it's just got a really good vibe, and I feel like, the lyrics are great. So this would definitely be in my playlist for Funkadelic. Definitely through their whole discography. This one's super fun. So let me go back a little bit, 10-15 seconds, and they finish this up and see how they roll this out here.
I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get? I can do it. I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get? I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get? I wanna know if you can get to that.
When you base your life on credit and your loving days are done, a check you sign with the loving kiss a later come back shine. Insufficient fun, y'all get to that.
Can you get?
I wanna know.
I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get? Can you get? I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get? Can you get? I wanna know if you can get to that. Can you get?
Okay, so yeah, so where does it sit? So the guitar, it feels like it's basically like a two chord vamp. So it's very like easy to just roll along and sort of improvise over. There's not too much there's not too much happening as far as the chord structure. But yeah, it's very fluid. But obviously they make it more complicated because they're adding all these other voices and other thematic ideas. So yeah, the guitar is so cool, two chord, and like I said, the bass is funky. The drums are really keeping it. The drums are really adventurous. I really like them there. But it's really the vocals and the mix of like background voices and all the different sort of collage of vocals that are really holding this up as a strong piece of music. Because it's really, they're improvising and just like putting all these sort of high and low and the screams and everything like that to create this sort of much wider space, in the music. So it makes it feel like very, very fresh. So this one, as I said, this one was written by George Clinton and Ernest Harris. I don't see him on the musicians list, so I'm not sure what his position was. But yeah, this was, I think, was their fourth album. Let me see. Maggot Brain album reached number 108 on the Billboard 200 and the top 20 of the Billboard R&B charts after its release in July 1971. The acoustic, gospel-tinged jam balances the prevalent weirdnesses of Maggot Brain's current decade with the optimistic lightness of the recent deceased 60s. So yeah, I like their acoustic parts on here. It definitely stands them apart as far as just being like this funk band, which they obviously weren't. They were funky, but they also had so much experimentation with musical tones and different things to put in there, especially with the vocal harmonies provided by the Hot Buttered Soul, the backing group of Isaac Hayes. As one of their members said, the bizarre clothes and the foul language is just to shock people. I don't believe in using bad words off stage, but you must use them on stage to get to the people. Our intention is to shock people and keep them shocked all the way through. That's the only way you're going to have their attention the whole time. That's interesting. It's sad, but it's also obviously a modern quagmire of sort of attention and what you need to do to keep people's attention in every sphere of our lives. This song, though, this song was attention-getting, not shocking at all. So I believe, live probably they're a different beast. And they're just in their music capability, just taking them as their albums, just as you find them. You pick this up off the street and listen to it. There's nothing. Maybe it was shocking at the time, but to hear it now, it just sounds like they're really adventurous and visionary, and their imagination for not being held back by certain stereotypical choices in the music and what they're allowed to do. I felt like they could always do anything they wanted. So yeah, I love it for that. I love this song. Lyrically, I feel like they were definitely speaking to something. I wasn't getting the whole theme of it. I once had a life, or rather, life had me. I read an old quotation in a book just yesterday. Says, "You're gonna reap just what you sow. The debts you make, you have to pay." Can you get to that? So is it just get to a sort of idea of reality, a realization of one thing or another? It's a different verbiage, obviously, than some people are used to. It's maybe a little bit more abstract, or maybe it's just something a little bit more subconscious that you just feel like it's about understanding. Can you get to an idea of knowing? I'm going to do some honorable mentions real quick for this period, because obviously, I'm leaving a lot out. I'm doing a pretty good mix of 71 at the time, but obviously, we can dig deeper into any of these. So, digging deeper into some of these honorable mentions for funk, R&B, Jesus Christ. Okay, soul. I'll put it as soul. So we had 1971. We had among these others. We're going to do some more. We're going to do two more. We had Bill Withers, Marvin Gaye, Chalites, Eddie Kendrick, Esther Phillips, Bobby Womack, Isaac Hayes. As we said in this one, they had the his backing vocalist, Hot Buttered Soul. Each genre, I'm sort of doing some honorable mentions on other groups, and it's just so many. When you think about 1971, it's just staggering how much musical content and the diversity and the quality came out in that one year. I can't imagine living in that year and thinking like nobody made enough money to get all the albums and listen to all the albums that came out every week. You'd have to buy like 10 albums every week to like keep up with all the stuff that came out. So it's just, that's the question I have. When you're growing up, 1971, I was born in 1971, but I wasn't out buying records. But when you were out, which records, were you buying like the Billboard charts? Were you going off, the album releases? How did you know what was coming out? Was it just in the stores? You just saw what was coming out? How did you keep up with the music? How did you keep up with all the music that was coming out on a weekly basis? That's what I want to know. Anyway, let's jump on to the next one. So, 1971, let's jump on to, so we got Funkadelic, and we can't leave this one out. We got to do this one. This is the second album released in September 1971 called Pieces of a Man, with on vocals and speaking voice, as voice in general, as the voice, Gil Scott Heron, Brian Jackson on piano and electric piano, Ron Carter on bass and electric bass, Pretty Purdy on drums, Burt Jones on electric guitar, and Hubert Laws on flute and saxophone. That's a pretty good list of musicians right there. Between Ron Carter, Pretty Purdy on drums, the soul master drummer, Hubert Laws on flute. I mean, it's you got a pretty strong. We'll go into more after we listen to it, but continuing on with the R&B and funk of 1971, let's do it. And this was one where I wanted to do something that I hadn't heard, but I just feel like this is just something I just had to do. So I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna have to do it. So it is what it is. Sorry, I can't find my fucking... Okay, here we go. Gil Scott Heron. We're going to do The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Let's listen to it.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lights of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Okay, I forgot to pause that. It didn't feel right to pause. There's nowhere to jump in. I can't interrupt Gil Scott Heron. I can't interrupt him. It's impossible. It would be the least righteous thing to do. Yeah, that's just amazing. So, just on a musical level, as I said, you had Ron Carter on bass, and he was just running all over that thing, probably electric bass on that, with Purdy, Bernard Purdy, on drums. Just hearing the two of them, first of all, I could just listen to the two of them just jamming on this, because hearing Ron Carter, he's just running all over it, and Purdy's like so smooth. And then you got Hubert Laws on the flute, playing all the, he's doing all the interludes, in and out, in and out. Sounds like a bird, flying around Gil Scott Heron's shoulder. Yeah, no electric guitar on there, so Burt Jones, I'm not sure, he's on some other of the album, yeah, piano, electric piano, Brian Jackson, yeah, he pretty much holds it down. I think he was pretty much his, Gil Scott Heron's original writing partner and playing partner. So yeah, a big part of the probably musical arrangements and things is on Brian Jackson and Gil Scott Heron. So anyway, musically fabulous. Yeah, it is. So this is R&B funk, but it's also in the sort of jazz field at the time. Maybe just because you got a lot of jazz musicians on it, but I don't know. This is one of those that's kind of multi-genre sort of overlap. So, and then obviously Gil Scott Heron, he's not just the lyrically, but just his ability, his music ability to sort of maneuver all around the music, with his lyrics and the phrasing and everything like that is just amazing. It's so poignant. It's got soul to it. It's got Yeah, it's right in the music. It's his phrasing and his timing and everything is just so it's a piece of the part of the puzzle, part of the jazz puzzle. You know, he's playing with Ron Carter, he's playing with Purdy, he's playing with Hubert Laws. You know, he's in there with him. He's not on top of him. So, Gil Scott-Heron, Bob Thiele made the deal in mid-1970. Neither could imagine what would follow. Thiele was the conduit between art and commerce that allowed Coltrane to make his greatest recordings until his death in 1967, from the Live at the Village Vanguard to A Love Supreme. Gil Scott had said, anyone who has recorded Coltrane and Kerouac can't be that bad, and then Thiele began his own label, Flying Dutchman. Heron, born April 1, 1949 in Jackson, Tennessee, moved to New York in 1962, met his musical collaborator, Brian Jackson, the pianist. Bob Thiele made Heron feel at home, asking them choice of musicians. Jackson said, not believing it. Well, Ron Carter and Hubert Laws, and then 2 days later, Thiele said, I've got him. So this is what Gil Scott has said, you is where life is and not at Woolworthless, 5 and 10. The message is here, inside the man. Brain cells, heart and soul, until understood and used the message and passed on and used and passed on and used. Gil is less than happy with Thiele's promotion. Did you ever see any ads, he asked rhetorically? And the royalties were suspiciously low. They told us that Pieces of a Man sold 24,000 copies in all. But he said, I know 25,000 who got that album. We know a guy who handled 20,000 just between Philly and D.C., so either Bob Thiele got Jesse James or he Jesse Jamesed us. Either way, we stopped associating with him. So there was a falling out, and I believe, Bob Thiele had a reaction and a sort of thoughtful response to this. Yeah, it was probably a mixed deal where, nobody really got what they wanted. To hear this now, 1971, and I listened to Gil Scott. I've probably listened to a bunch of his albums, and definitely, enough where I've taken everything that I enjoy about him and sort of curated it into a playlist of parts of him that I really gravitate towards. But yeah, his voice never left. Even his later stuff when he came out, still had that gravitas. It's amazing that he can just do it lyrically. He can just get you under a spell and into a space where you're just like, I haven't been in this space for 2 years, and then all of a sudden you've just pulled me in here, and it feels like I've missed out on this for my whole life. Listening to him, you just feel like this is sadly missing from any period in society. This is something that it's a part of another amazing part of it is that. This came out obviously in 71. There was a lot of, cultural uprising and tumultuous things that were happening in society. So it fits in with that the voices were there and they got to be heard through the making of this. But it's sad that this is one of the few voices that actually, had some resonance with the population and communication to be able to hear it and take it in and put it back out into the world. As he said, used and passed on and passed on. You have to pass it on, But we're the other voices, There's definitely other voices, but we can make a list of people who were put sort of political ideology and culture into their music. Not as much as in this sense as he does it, but yeah, and that was back then. How about in the 80s and the 90s? Who were the voices that were doing that? I'd have to really dig to find out. I feel like, especially in today's society. But anyway, a real period in time, that allowed this to happen. So, Gil Scott-Heron, 1971. This is how far we can get. Between the folk and the rock and the jazz that allows this stuff to come out. This is why it's such a wonderful, wonderful year and period for music in general. So, and in that sense, let's do a little bit of the some of the things that were happening in society. A quick list, short list. So I ended in October 1971 with some of the cultural happenings. Ended with Soul Train premieres, October 1971. In October, also, The French Connection premieres. Jesus Christ Superstar opens. Duane Allman dies, October 1971. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is published. Frank Zappa is attacked. D.B. Cooper plane hijacking in November. And Lucasfilm is founded, December 10, 1971. And just to, I feel like it's a good bookmark on this Gil Scott Heron. December 16th, American Pie, the popular song by Don McLean, is released in an 8-minute version. That's an interesting bookmark there, yeah. American Pie with The Revolution will not be televised. I feel like that's a good duo set to show a year, a moment in time. So anyway, yeah, something to think about. So yeah, we're going to do another one here. Funk, R&B, and maybe put jazz into the Gil Scott Heron. So let's see, what are we going to jump into? So release September, November 1971. We're going to do a piece, and as I already said, some of the R&B honorable mentions. A lot came out in 1971, and that's just the ones that were sort of on the charts and popular. You could dig into hundreds of other R&B funk groups that came out and had records and had some mild form of popularity or impact on society. So, but we're gonna finish off with this one. We're gonna do sort of a strong set. So we got Funkadelic, Gil Scott Heron, and we're gonna end it with a song called All Day Music by the band War, with Howard Scott on guitar, B.B. Dickerson on bass, Lonnie Jordan on organ, Harold Brown on drums, Papa D. Allen on conga and bongos and percussion, Charles Miller on flute and alto tenor and baritone sax, and Lee Oscar on harmonica. And they all sort of also contributed on vocals. And I've got a bit to say about the band War after this, but let's listen to the music. And here we go. All Day Music. I've heard this one a little bit. I just feel like it's a great juxtaposition of the band at this time, looking through. So this is the one I'm going to do. But yeah, please give me some other choices for the band. I've listened to War quite a bit, but here we go.
All right, here we go. Let's do it then, man.
Here we go. Let's do it. That bass is so... Good acoustic. That just went across. One minute, and that's all just like warming up. That's all just like testing, getting levels up. The bass is like find the sound. The guitar is like you can tell he turned up a little bit after there. Okay, that's good. They're all getting set up a whole minute, and they leave this on the album. Oh my God! Try to talk someone into do that today. Okay. So, yeah. Pretty much near perfect song as I can imagine for, I mean, it's got the perfect vibe for, you're having a picnic, you're out for a hike, you're out for driving in your car. It doesn't really matter. You just want to have good vibes, good, positive momentum, positive imagination, everything like that. It's all day music. It's all week music. It's all year music. It's everyday music. So yeah, again, like Funkadelic, it's got acoustic guitar, or maybe it's like it might be an arch top that's not like, but it's not, doesn't sound like it's plugged in. So it's very acoustic sounding, that's something that's like I feel is missing too. People negate kind of using all these acoustic instruments for anything, R&B or funk or Latin music, all these, but yeah, it's here. Yeah, everything's laid back. It's got two parts to it. The biggest stand obviously is the organ, B3. That's a big thing nowadays. Nobody uses B3 anymore. Or other keyboards. We don't use the keyboards anymore. We use their the all-in-one keyboards, the Nords, the this and that, to get the B3 sounds, to get the Wurlitzer electric piano sounds, to get the I forget the other keyboard I'm listening to. It has a much darker tone to it. That was very popular in the 70s. So yeah, and it's, we think they sound the same. They don't, trust me. My friend had a B3 organ in his apartment and with Leslie speakers, and that thing would push you across the room. I mean, you felt it as much as you heard it. So there's just not, maybe in a mix, it's hard to tell, but it's not the same. We've sort of taken the convenience out of it, but yeah, B3 organs, you can't move them around as much as a keyboard, even though we tried bringing them upstairs and downstairs, in his apartment. He brought out to gigs sometimes. He'd roll a B3 organ into the gig. Anyway, let's get back to it. Yeah, War's the perfect song, like their stuff. It's always, you're going to be put into this sort of, it's just going to filter out all the bad shit. Here we go.
To soothe your mind, yeah.
That's percussion. Yeah, I mean, God, all day music, forget about it. It's just, yeah, it's fantastic. It's got everything. It's got the foundation. It's got the guitar, drums and bass all keeping it locked down, and then you have the organ just keeping this lush backdrop, and then the vocals, like the harmonies, stacked vocals, stacked harmonies, and then you got the one guy who's on top who's just soaring above. I mean, yeah, it's everything. Got the harmonica, I forgot him. Got the sax, Charles Miller, sax, got the harmonica. I mean, it's the full package. So this debuted at 168 on the Billboard, and 1120 peaked it on November 20th. Peaked at number 16 in June in 1972, the following year, and was the second album with Eric Burdon. As a drummer said, I got a lot of my rhythms from Tijuana, Mexico. Because I'd go down there with my mother in the early 60s. I'd see people dancing in the bars, and those rhythms were where I got a lot of my patterns. In June '64, I had just graduated from Long Beach Polytechnic High School. I had money to save to go to college, but a schoolmate had a body and fender shop, and he was about to lose his business. He owed on his lease and owed all his workers. I told him I'd pay off all his debts, and I took over his business and started doing the work myself, making all kinds of money. I didn't want people on my back telling me when to be at work, because then I couldn't pursue being a musician. I had to be my own boss, and it was important to have transportation. So I got guitarist Howard Scott, keyboardist Lonnie Jordan, and other musicians together, and we went to the local musicians union to join. We'd play on Sunset Strip, Whiskey A Go-Go. We opened up for the OJs, Ike and Tina Turner, and the Righteous Brothers. This first road trip in 1965 went to El Paso, Texas. The owner of the club was telling us about this singer named Otis Redding that needed a backup band, and he suggested us. We were supposed to be Otis Redding's band. We would have been the Bar-Kays, but we didn't get the gig because Lonnie was still young and never finished high school, so his mother didn't want him to go anywhere, and then Howard and our trumpet player got drafted. Howard came out of the service and was about to get a job as a nurse. I met percussionist Papa D. Allen around that time. When I met him, he was playing congas and bongos at the same time he was getting his oil changed at a gas station. He worked with Wayne Henderson and the Jazz Crusaders. I told him we should try to form a band one time. If it didn't work, we'd go our own way. Anyway, so we changed the name of the band to Night Shift. I sought out Marshall Lieb again. He set me up for a drumming gig. He said, I really need guitar and strings, and I need bass amps. So I met Sonny Charles that day, and I knew my band was ready to go. So I called up Howard, and we started rehearsing because I knew we'd have gigs coming. Deacon Jones was singing at the time, and he became a part of Night Shift. We were a review, Deacon Jones Review. Yes, the football player. Reviewing the night, featuring the Night Shift and Sonny Charles. In 1969, Eric Burden came to see our show with Steve Gold and Jerry Goldstein, who ended up becoming our producer and manager. And it was the last weekend of playing with Deacon Jones while he was off playing golf. So it was Howard Scott, Lonnie Jordan, Sylvester Allen, Charles Miller, and Pete Rosen. We were playing our last song, and I see this skinny guy with an afro bigger than mine walking towards the stage saying, "Can I play harmonica with you?" It was Lee Oscar. He'd been homeless and sleeping on Eric Burden's couch. He came up and jammed, and once we were finished, people were clapping, and they said, "You guys look like you just came out of a war. Why don't we name you guys War?" And that's where Lee Oscar started with them. Anyway, they did the show at Ronnie Scott's with Hendrix is one of their most notable performances in 1970. For being the last public performance for Jimi Hendrix, who joined them on stage for the last 35 minutes of Burden and War's second set. A day later, he died. During the subsequent tour in 1970, Burden collapsed on stage during a concert caused by an asthma attack, and the band continued the tour without him. They finished the tour without him and returned to record their first album as War. After Burden left the band played with the original member until 1979. In 1968, the Creators became Night Shift. Jordan claimed that the band's goal was to spread a message of brotherhood and harmony using instruments and voices to speak out against racism, hunger, gangs, crimes, and turf wars, and promote hope and spirit of brotherhood. I definitely would look forward to doing a whole album listen, or at least a medley of some tunes, because I think they're just such a strong force for, like they said, that brotherhood, in that period. It's such a fantastic place to sort of start and develop a little bit more into some of their music. So same with Funkadelic and Gil Scott-Heron, they all were, a force to be reckoned with and had such a unique style and strong voice in that period. So, it's hard to look into everything, there's so much good stuff that came out then, and, so this is that portion of it. This is the sort of R&B, funk, soul music period of 1971. Obviously we could develop it a lot more, but we're going to stop there, and we're going to move on to the next couple of genres. So we're going to move on to fusion, the last two, fusion and some world music. So we're going to do a bunch on those, and I hope you will enjoy that too. So what's coming up for us? I don't know. We're jumping into. I definitely want to do another full album reaction. In what genre, I'm not sure yet. We're going to develop a more retrospective into the Canterbury scene and some of those bands, and it's going to be pretty much a pretty expansive set with that one, because there's a lot of groups, and I want to probably look at more of their debut albums of most of the groups, and kind of do a nice little retrospective on that, because that's something I haven't heard a ton of, and I definitely need to do a deeper dive on that, and interested in everybody's opinion, and for sure, shoot a band, shoot an album or a song on that you think particularly needs to be showcased on, and I will definitely take that in consideration. Again, so lastly, appreciate it. We had Funkadelic. Can you get to that? Gil Scott Heron, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, and War All Day Music. I appreciate you all being here. Look forward to appreciate all your comments and everything like that specifically. So, you can support this endeavor, always by, liking the video, by subscribing, and just communicating, everything with me. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.